A three-game series matching two of the top 10 teams in the country will come to a close this afternoon in Lexington as the Kentucky Wildcats try to rally and take a game from the top-ranked Florida Gators. Hi again, everybody. I'm Dick Gabriel, along with former Kentucky coach Keith Madison. And, Coach, we have seen why the Gators are number one. They're terrific.
They're dominant. They're an elite team, and I believe, Dick, they're even better than they were last year.
And all they did last year was win the national championship. And big reasons this weekend we've seen, starting with the Gator pitching. And, boy, Brady Singer, brilliant.
Yeah, he's like Danny Graves, a former Reds pitcher. He's a baby-faced assassin. He looks like a kid, but man, when he gets on the mound, he's a man.
He is indeed. Struck out 10 Wildcats, and what a season and what a weekend Will Dawkins had.
Well, he's got a sweet swing, and it's like you hear baseball people say a lot. He's really seeing the ball well.
He had a 3-run triple last night and topped that off, wouldn't you know, with a 3-run homer. 9 runs batted in so far this weekend, and the Gators win the first two. Kentucky losing its first home series of the season, but a bright spot for the Cats.
Yeah, Cole Cottom, he is, the thing I love about him, Dick, is he carries himself like a champion. No matter what the team's doing, no matter what the score is, he still comes to play every game and puts together great at-bats.
And had a 2-run homer last night to try to bring the Wildcats back. They will answer today with this young man, Justin Lewis, the Sunday starter, minus a day of rest, but a changeup master.
Wow, fun to watch pitch, great changeup, and just really competes. I love the way he competed last weekend against Georgia. Every time he needed an out, he made a great pitch.
And the Cats needed that because last Sunday against the Bulldogs, with the series in the balance, Kentucky came away with a 1-0 victory, and Justin Lewis was absolutely brilliant down in Athens, but he'll try to keep these Florida Gators at bay. And here is how the Gators will come to the play. Nelson Maldonado's had a big weekend. J.J. Schwartz is coming off a Player of the Week performance. All the Gators have contributed this weekend, Coach. And when you're Kevin O'Sullivan and you're filling out that lineup, you feel pretty good. And by the way, the man at the top of the order, Deacon Liput, brilliant defense all weekend.
Yeah, great defense. And to me, the area where they've improved the most since last year's national championship team is offense. They just seem to be more explosive offensively this year than they were last year.
And the numbers back you up on that. We'll talk about that as the game progresses, but you're right. They are much better in some areas, including home runs coming into this weekend, Coach. At this time last year, Gators had 10 home runs. This year, 26.
That's a huge difference.
Now Lippitt leading things off. And Luke Heyer getting the start at third base in a couple of steps on the grass for the Wildcats. Lippitt last night, though, wore the 0 for 5 collar, but on Thursday, 2 for 6 with 3 runs batted in.
He's swinging a good bat. One thing, too, about him is he can really, really run them down out there at shortstop, man. He's got great hands, and we talked about before the game, Dick, he makes those routine plays every time.
From Oviedo, Florida, he's a junior, and ahead in the count. Gets something to hit and rattles it into right field off the wall. That's going to be an easy double for the Florida leadoff man, and the Gators in business early.
Well, the Gators are just so confident right now. They're just seeing the ball well and swinging at bats, and very, very confident team. Nice stroke on an off-speed pitch. Just sends it right out to right field, stays back on it, and just drops the barrel right on it.
All weekend long, the Gators have been disciplined at the plate against some pretty good Kentucky pitching. And they've waited for pitches that they could handle. And they've known what to do with them, obviously. 9 base hits in the win last night, 10 in the victory on Thursday. Wildcats with a lot of free passes in that Thursday victory by Florida. Now Nelson Maldonado. 6 home runs on the year, driven in 28.
Well, last weekend against Georgia, it seems like Justin Lewis got in trouble quite a bit, but he pitched his way out of it because he's a great competitor and he has good stuff. So now he finds himself in a position where he's going to have to pitch himself out of a little first inning jam with no outs.
Maldonado, one of the veterans for this Florida team. Seems like he's been there forever. He's a junior from Tampa. Seems like he's been there a while, but that's because he's been producing basically since the day he arrived. That's the changeup for Justin Lewis, but missing downstairs. That's one of the challenges too, Keith, isn't it, for a changeup pitcher against a disciplined team at the plate?
That's right. The more disciplined you are as a team, the more walks you're going to get, because it's hard to keep that changeup with that much movement in the strike zone.
And now Lewis falls behind once again, 2-0. Lipwood hit a 2-0 pitch into right field. And a quick word from redshirt senior catcher Troy Squires. Lewis himself, a redshirt junior, sat out his freshman year after joining the Wildcats, moving up from Atlanta.
You know, Dick, Justin Lewis reminds me a little bit of Brandon Webb. And I remember watching Brandon Webb pitch in the big leagues. He had so much movement on his sinker. And I often wondered, why don't hitters just take it? Because it always almost ended up out of the zone. But it looks so good coming near the plate, and you have so little time to make a decision as a hitter.
Fastball misses downstairs, and Lewis falls behind 3-0. He's yet to throw a strike.
The fans wanted that one to be a strike.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Nelson. On the way on now.
That's Lipwood with the lead at second. Just underway here in Lexington. There's the first strike of the game for Justin Lewis.
Not as many scouts sitting back there today as Thursday or Friday's game, but I'm sure there's some wandering around here somewhere, checking out this potent Gator team, and also Justin Lewis.
Getting a good look at Jonathan India, who's going to make his way to the plate as Maldonado draws the walk. Rough start for the Wildcats. Here's the way they'll play behind Lewis today, and you see Ryan Johnson gets the start in right field. Higher moving back to third base. Cottom and Squires have flip-flopped those two positions all year long. Same combination up the middle, Dawson and Becker in defense of Justin Lewis. Nick Mingione has juggled his offense, juggled his defense, trying to shake this Kentucky team out of a little bit of a slump that the Wildcats have hit here down the stretch in SEC play, as Jonathan India looks at a breaking ball for strike one. Big bat. Big bat in this Florida Gator lineup.
Unless something weird happens, he is probably going to be SEC Player of the Year.
.430 average, 13 homers. He's driven in 33, and 3 triples.
Yeah, he can run. That's what people overlook sometimes. He's because of his offensive numbers, they look at his power and they think, he's just another lumbering middle of the lineup guy. No, this guy can run. He has a good arm. He's solid defensively. He's got the whole package.
Well, you look at his numbers, you'd think, well, this guy must look like Paul Bunyan. He's
right.
6'1", 200.
Exactly.
Built like a defensive back. Free bases now for the Gators as Cottom couldn't come up, or rather Squires, with a breaking ball in the dirt zone, the wild pitch.
That time it looked like Justin Lewis just overthrew that a little bit, and just his mechanics just did not look the same. Looked like he tried to do too much. Here you see it. Looked like maybe, was that a fastball or a changeup? I couldn't tell, but he definitely held on to it too long, trying to overthrow.
Squires really had no chance, especially with the artificial turf behind the plate. It's a natural playing surface except for that area here at Cliff Hagan Stadium, and with that rubberized turf you get a big bounce, and now India clipped. Crowd didn't like the call. That loads the bases.
Well, Jonathan India didn't react at all. He just moved out of the way, and he didn't grab his arm or act like it hit him or anything. That's what the crowd's seeing, but apparently the umpire heard something.
Yeah, Jason Millsap immediately came up and awarded first base. Here comes Jimmy Bellinger, the pitching coach for the Wildcats, now to have a word with his veteran right-hander.
Well, Dick, it goes without saying, really. I mean, this is an important game for Kentucky. Florida hasn't lost a series all year, so now they're in a position where they want to sweep. But really, Kentucky, they can't afford to get swept this weekend. Even though Florida's ranked #1, by, I think, solidly the best team in college baseball, but it sure would be good for Kentucky if they could get out of this weekend with one win.
You're always looking ahead to SEC tournament pairings and momentum as well. Millsap breaks up the party. Florida 14-3 in Southeastern Conference play. Gators dropped the home game to Arkansas and dropped one at Tennessee. Came into this series with a non-conference loss against Jacksonville, which was a big upset in the world of college baseball. But anything can happen as Will Dalton takes a mighty cut.
That was that great changeup that Justin Lewis has shown us since he's been here, and it's just gotten better. And as we talked about earlier, sometimes it moves so much he has trouble getting ahead in the count, but what a nice one that was.
Dalton has feasted on Kentucky pitching this weekend. Good stop by Squires. Dalton, 15 home runs, 45 runs batted in. Drove in 6 last night with that bases clearing triple over the head of Ben Klinski, who is now about 2 steps off the warning track in center field.
This young man is red hot this weekend. He's swinging it.
Sophomore from Spring Hill, Tennessee. Changing speeds again. Boy, Lewis with maybe his best pitch of the day so far.
A lot of movement.
Dalton, a transfer from Columbia State Community College.
Well, that's really close to his hometown of Spring Hill. Spring Hill being just south of Nashville, just south of Franklin, Tennessee. Good baseball down there.
Big pitch for Lewis. A key strikeout for the Wildcats, who now can escape this inning if they can somehow turn a double play.
That was a big strikeout and a great pitch, great location against the hottest hitter in the Southeastern Conference. He couldn't have come at a better time for Justin Lewis.
Doesn't get much easier. J.J. Schwartz finding his way to the plate. The Wildcats have turned only 8 double plays this year, which is a surprisingly low number. That's in the SEC. Lewis misses and the crowd lets him hear about it.
The fans are very unhappy with the strike zone right now.
They really are.
They're grumpy. Is that a good term?
I think so. Cats have turned only 17 all year, double plays.
That's a great pitch. Breaking ball.
80 miles an hour. So Lewis seems to be dialing in much better. But the sacks are full of Gators with only 1 out here in the first inning.
This is a dangerous lineup to
fall behind.
Yes.
Another off-speed pitch.
You know, Georgia, obviously, they have a good lineup too, but Justin Lewis found himself in a situation several times last weekend, and he was able to make that great pitch, get that big out in all the key times, and consequently came back with a great series win there. The Florida Gators are just a little more dangerous than the Bulldogs.
Schwartz is one of the reasons. Another strikeout for Lewis.
I tell you, Justin Lewis has dialed it up these last 2 hitters. He's showing what a great competitor he is. He's not giving in. Throw a great breaking ball in a perfect spot down and away.
That thing dropped about 2 feet.
Oh, man.
Lewis on the season, 66 strikeouts now in only 52 innings.
Come in, Forrest. Come on now.
Brings up Austin Langsworthy, a .316 hitter. He's driven in 15, an opportunity here to give his team an early lead. First lefty faced by Lewis. And goes away with a fastball.
You know, this Justin Lewis changeup is a great pitch against left-handed hitters, so I'm expecting Langworthy to see quite a few changeups from Lewis in this at-bat, in this situation with loaded bases.
At could do it. Becker on the right side of the infield. And the Wildcats work out of the jam. Justin Lewis forces the Gators to leave him loaded. We'll go to the bottom of the first, scoreless at Cliff Hagan Stadium on the SEC Network. Back at Cliff Hagan Stadium in Lexington, Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison, and there's the man on the bump for the Florida Gators today. That's the sophomore right-hander Tyler Dyson. And you see he's a pretty good size thrower at 6'3", 235, 225 rather. And there you see his numbers, but they don't tell the whole story about this guy, Keith, because the experience he got last year,
that's right,
pitching for the national champions, invaluable.
Absolutely. I mean, he had to grow up in a hurry last year as a freshman because not only did he pitch in relief against the Louisville Cardinals in the College World Series, he pitched in a championship game against LSU and helped Florida win the national championship as a freshman.
Now trying to help the Gators close out a sweep of these Kentucky Wildcats. And believe it or not, before the game, Nick Mingione talked about his Wildcats, and you see how they're coming to the plate with Vaniklinski dropping down to the 8-hole. Becker now batting third. Caught him at the cleanup spot. The two Ryans back-to-back in the lineup. That hasn't happened much this year, but despite the fact that the Wildcats lost 9-4 and 11-2, Nick Mingione lauded his team by assuring them that he liked the way they were competitive on the mound and at the plate. It just wasn't the execution they were looking for, but he encouraged the Wildcats to remain competitive today and get a win over the nation's top-ranked team.
Really, three guys stand out to me from the Wildcats in last night's game. You see that good fastball from Dyson right there. One is Sean Jelly. He had one bad inning.
Yeah.
But other than that, he competed very well. And then Cole Cotta, we talked about earlier, really put together some good at-bats. And then I like the way Trey Dawson played shortstop last night. He played very well.
Tristan Pompey led off with a double last night, but the Wildcats failed to take advantage.
I tell you, Dyson's got a great fastball. It's got what I call giddy up, man. It's got late life, and it'll get on you in a hurry.
Pompey, a two-hit game after going 0 for 4 on Thursday. Switch hitter from Toronto, a junior, likely playing his final season in Kentucky blue. And he's running full on the Wildcat left fielder.
One thing I've noticed about Dyson is occasionally he rushes in his delivery and the elbow's down and fastball stays up, like right there.
And Pompey finds his way on, does his job as the leadoff man. His on-base average 443, and that's the 21st walk of the year. And keeping in mind that he missed 6 games as a starter. Here's the way the Gators will play defense behind Dyson, with Deacon Lippert just a real treat to watch him play shortstop. Jonathan India, underrated defensively as a third baseman too, in my opinion.
I agree with that 100%, Dick. He's also underrated as an overall athlete.
Yeah. Squires barrels it up, but it's right at Dalton, and Pompey has to retreat.
Right now, just for a few seconds, Troy Squires is hating this game because he did everything he's supposed to do. He squared that ball up right at the Florida right fielder. That's a tough thing about baseball. You can do something perfectly and still fail.
Luke Becker with a multi-hit game as well last night, 2 for 4, and scored one of the Wildcat runs. 2 for 3 on Thursday night. Becker involved in a somewhat of a controversial play late in the game. Game was already out of hand, but it involved a long delay. Becker with a hard smash to third base, went for an infield single, but third baseman threw it away. Becker made a quick turn, headed for second, and was tagged out, but after a long review, it showed that he slid under the tag, kept the Wildcats alive. He eventually came around to score.
Yeah, initially it looked like he was just dead to
Oh,
rights.
yeah.
He was
the throw
out.
beat him by 2 steps.
But Coach Mingione or somebody in the dugout saw something that we couldn't see, and they were right.
It may have been Becker. popping up and saying the tag was late. 5 home runs on the year for the senior from Fairmont, Minnesota. Transferred in after 1 year of junior college ball in Iowa. Has been a fixture ever since. Spent a lot of time last year at third base or DH with All-American Riley Mahan having a huge year at second. And Becker is back at his natural position. Runner goes. Pompey beats the throw by Schwartz. It was a strong throw, Coach, but wrong side of the bag.
That's right. And location, location, location. And I like the aggressiveness that the Wildcats are showing early in this game. Good. He got a good jump on the pitcher. Just not only beats the throw, but like you said, the throw was on the wrong side of the bag, so they didn't have a chance.
And you know, with that 6'4" frame, Pompey looks like he's just loping along, but he has got a lot of speed. So now the Wildcats with a man in scoring position here in the bottom of the first inning. If you're just joining us, Florida loaded the bases with nobody out. And Kentucky wriggled off the hook thanks to Justin Lewis.
Well, Justin Lewis really dialed it up and competed, and he showed a lot of emotion getting off that mound. And
oh, yeah. Boy, Dyson just missing downstairs, and Luke Becker gets to go shopping right now. 3 balls and 1 strike. He can pick out something he likes. Becker can use the entire ballpark and does have power to center field, as well as left and right, of course. Dyson issued his second consecutive walk. He had issued, or rather second in 3 batters. He was at 18 walks coming into the game, and now Schwartz will go out and have a war. J.J. Schwartz, the co-SEC Player of the Week. All he did last year, Coach, was go 7 for 14 against Florida State and Missouri.
Yeah, he had a big week, and he's another one of those guys that has that World Series tournament experience, and he's a very, very solid player for the Florida Gators.
Nice to have a senior behind the plate, a guy who's
no question
done everything Schwartz has done. First pitch swinging, Cole caught him, as he often does. They know Dyson throws a good fastball, so they want to make sure if they can get any part of it to take a hack at it.
One of the things I like about Cole Cottom's approach is he uses the entire field. He can hit the ball. He's strong enough. He can hit the ball out of the park in right field, right center, left. I mean, he's just a complete hitter. There it goes to right field.
They'll have to retreat as Cottom fouls it off. Well, to your point, Cole Cottom owns the most important base hit in the history of Cliff Hagan Stadium. It was the RBI double that drove in the eventual winning run in the NCAA Regional Championship game last year. That was off the right field wall.
When he's really in the zone, he's as good as I've seen at hitting the ball with power to right field from this Kentucky program.
What were you saying? Dyson hangs a curveball at 0-2, and Cole Cottom loads him up with 1 out.
He did a great job of staying back on that breaking ball and just stroking it to right field, got on top of it. Good piece of hitting right there, Dick.
Well, I will give you full credit for calling it. And a mound visit by Coach O'Sullivan to try to settle his sophomore pitcher down. Kevin O'Sullivan, in his 11th year at Florida, what a job he's done. Not just the national championship last year, he's won the 5 College World Series.
He is an exceptional coach, and I've had the privilege of spending some time with Sully over the last few years, and I'm just very impressed with his demeanor. He seems to just be calm, and he's competitive, don't get me wrong. And if you watch his body language, you see when he gets frustrated, but he just got an even keel about it.
He's very professional. Not that most coaches aren't, but I think he embodies that as much as anybody. Well, now Luke Heyer, earlier this year named the National Player of the Week. He's had a terrific season, and a Florida native, a senior in his second year with the Wildcats.
And if it wasn't for Jonathan India hitting over 500 in league play, I think Luke Heyer would be my selection for SEC Player of the Year.
He's had that kind of season. Second on this Kentucky team in home runs to Cottom with 13. And as Cottom took the lead, retook the lead last night, but Heyer leads by far in runs batted in. Couldn't hold up there. 42 runs batted in for Luke Heyer, and a chance to pad that number right here, but he is down in the count now. No balls and 2 strikes. And Sullivan, no doubt, just reminding Dyson, look, just keep the ball down and pound the strike zone. That'll get a run home, another RBI for Heyer as Lippett makes the play, but unlike last night when the Wildcats bounced into a pair of crippling double plays, Gators never had a chance on this one.
Well, a good job there by Lippett to get the ball on the big hop. If he hadn't gotten a good jump on that ground ball, that would have been a base hit by Heyer.
Pompey comes in for the 23rd time, and the Wildcats lead for the first time this weekend as Ryan Johnson stands in. Ryan got off to a great start with the Wildcats. He has struggled of late. His average down to 270. Transfer from College Station, Texas.
Sometimes it just takes a big hit in a situation like this to shake those struggles and turn over a new leaf. This is a big situation right here with 2 men in scoring position, 2 outs.
Johnson's knocked in 20 with those 3 home runs, 9 doubles. Strikeout to walk ratio has taken a tumble. Only 10 walks, 24 strikeouts now for Johnson.
This is a good situation to be hunting fastball out over the plate.
Out the inside pitch. That's a great pitch by Dyson. And the Kentucky faithful vocal today.
That was a very good pitch. He'd been going away, and then boom, fastball right on the inside edge.
Big pitch coming up for the Gators and Tyler Dyson. Try to get him to chase. Count is full with 2 outs. Inning began when Dyson walked Tristan Pompey. He came around to score on the ground ball by Heyer. He walked Becker as well. Becker third base. And he's walked another. And coach, these are walks where the hitters haven't even had to think twice about it.
That's right. When he misses, he seems to miss badly.
Yeah.
He's shown signs of great location, but for whatever reason, I don't know if he's flying open in his delivery or whether it's mechanical or he just loses his focus, but then he'll throw his breaking ball 18 inches outside the zone or he'll throw his fastball way up above the letters.
Now Ryan Shin. Shin last night had a great at-bat when the game was still in the balance. The Wildcats needed a sacrifice bunt, and Shin failed on his first 2 opportunities, and with 2 strikes he dropped a perfect sac bunt down in front of the plate. Hartford College, Johnstown, New Jersey native. The Fastball there by Dyson, jumps ahead, no balls, 2 strikes.
Dyson really gets a lot of movement arm side, and that's tough on a right-handed hitter coming. That first pitch looked great to Shin, but then it just darted right in under his hands. Tough to handle.
Shin drew a pair of walks last night, getting to start again as the DH. 0 for 1 officially. Didn't see any action on Thursday. Still in the first. It's been a long inning.
Good slider, just missed on the outside part of the plate.
But now it's 2 balls, 2 strikes, and Shin may get something he can square up. He does indeed, but it's playable for Horvath. Gator fans had to have their hearts in their mouth, but it stays in the ballpark. Wildcats push across 1. They lead it 1-0 in Lexington. Wildcats with a 1-0 lead here in the second inning. Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison. Last year, Kevin O'Sullivan was the National Coach of the Year, but he was not the SEC Coach of the Year, and that's because that man, you may be able to see him through the legs and the mesh. That guy right there on the move. Nick Mingione was the SEC Coach of the Year.
And well-deserved, Dick. He just was fantastic in the way he led this team last year.
As you can see, led the Wildcats to their first Super Regional in program history. And now leading them through the 50th and final season here at Cliff Hagan Stadium. Justin Lewis back on the mound. This is the young man who loaded him up, or allowed the Gators to load him up, I should say, in the first, and then struck out the next 2 men he faced and retired the third on a pop-up. Given the circumstances, in the 50-year history in the Cliff, that's one of the guttiest performances in 50 seasons here.
Well, I
against
tell
this
you,
team.
he has the competitiveness and the stuff to be able to do that and to just sort of dial it up and compete when he has to. And he did that at Georgia last week, and he's doing it again against the Gators. Hopefully he doesn't do it too often.
Brady Smith 0 for 2 last night. Drove in a run, drew a walk. 2-2. 3 strikeouts now for Lewis. And right there, Coach, you got a good look at the hesitation he uses in the middle of his delivery and then explodes to the plate.
Yeah, he's got a high leg kick, high with his knee, and he's so tall, and then he looks so smooth, and then the ball just explodes on you. And also, these Florida hitters have to be ultra sensitive to that changeup, so that fastball looks even quicker.
It might have been one of them, 84 miles an hour. Lewis has a couple of points when he's using a windup where he can change his pace and then explode at a hitter.
It looked like a changeup.
Yep.
Maybe he got up a little bit, got away with one. I know Jimmy Bellinger would probably rest easier in that dugout if he didn't pitch out of jams, if he just didn't get in jams. But there's that hesitation again you're talking about, Dick.
Talking to Jimmy this week about the change they had to make last year when they had to replace the entire weekend rotation and move Jelly and Lewis out of the bullpen into starting roles. 1-2 to Blake Reese. And I asked Jimmy about the work that it took to do that. He just shrugged it off. He said, those guys did all the work.
But, you know, that was a huge challenge for Jimmy Bellinger. He downplays that a little bit, but to completely transform 2 relievers into starters, and not only starters, but guys in the SEC rotation.
Not only that, freshman All-American.
Right.
As relief pitchers. Now, both, of course, have been starters in high school, but you're talking about big boy baseball.
Yeah, it would have been easy just to say, hey, we're going to keep those guys where they've had success and where they're comfortable.
Boy, Lewis has really found a rhythm.
4 strikeouts in a row for the big right-hander.
Brings up the number 9 hitter, Nick Horvath. Look at the movement.
Great movement. Ball started around mid-thigh and just dropped down below the knees.
Horvath, the number 9 hitter with 5 home runs. There, you said this before the game, Coach. There really aren't any weak spots in this Florida lineup.
No, last year, the first half of the season, many people don't remember this, but they struggled offensively. And then they put it together at the right time, and it's carried over to this year.
Well, when you think about it, in their first 15 conference games last year, the Gators were 8-7.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, wound up winning the SEC championship and the national title. Coming into today, 14-3.
Lewis is getting so much movement on the arm side. It's you can see why he might clip a couple of hitters like that.
And he walks his second man of the game with 2 outs. And that's a danger spot. He walks the number 9 hitter. Now he's back up to the top of the order. Gators last year took 2 out of 3 from the Wildcats. Down in Gainesville, Kentucky won the first game. Florida wins 2 and 3, and in fact, the last game of that series, the Gators clinched the SEC title with a win over the Wildcats.
It'll be interesting to see how Justin Lewis pitches Lippett in this at-bat, because the first at-bat of the game, Lippett did a great job, had a really good approach, and stayed back on an off-speed pitch and stroked it to right field. It'd be interesting to see if Lewis will pound him inside with fastballs or keep going off speed.
Just went inside that time. Gators lead the league in runs scored. They're 9th in the country. They're also first in doubles. They're 5th in the NCAA in that department. In the league, they're 3rd in home runs, but 4th in the NCAA. Lewis suddenly wild, and here comes Squires to the mound. And you talked about defense. Florida 2nd in the conference in fielding percentage, 5th in the country. And when you mix in a pitching staff that is 2nd in the league in walks to strikeout ratio, we said they could do it all.
Yeah, and this is an old pitching guy talking, but I think just about any baseball person will tell you that pitching and defense is where it's at, especially when you get down in the stretch like we're in. And it's obviously the offense is fun, but you got to get it done on the mound, and you got to get it done defensively.
When you talk baseball with Nick Mingione, those are the first words out of his mouth: pitching and defense. That's one reason he's been to a handful of World Series, both as a player and a coach. Well, looking at the Gators last year, I mentioned the fact that they have dramatically increased home run production. This time last year, team batting average 264, coming in this weekend 297.
Wow.
Great pitch by Lewis on the outer edge. Battles back to make it 2-2.
I think a lot of that improvement just comes from all that tournament experience and the growth and the maturity of the team.
Well, now you can wipe out all the other stats and just talk runs, and that's a metric a lot of people love. And last year at this point, 5 runs a game. This season, the Gators at this point 8 runs a game. That's dramatically different. You know what's odd as well? They're 3rd in the league in RBI, and yet have nobody in the top 5.
Wow, that's a balanced attack.
Got him.
Caught him leaning.
Nicely done by Lewis and the rest of the Wildcats as they catch Nick Korbach leaning, and they run him down. We'll go to the bottom of the 2nd. It's Kentucky 1, Florida 0 on the SEC Network. Back at Cliff Hagan Stadium in Lexington, Kentucky, Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison, the Wildcats with the early lead. As Ben Aklinski first pitch swinging, sends it down the right field line, and out of sight but not out of mind is Will Dalton making the grab. That's a quick start to an inning, coach, in a game that's really kind of lurched along.
Yeah, it really has. If you look at the score of 1-0, you think, boy, this is a fast game, but we've actually had it's actually been a long game so far. But
both teams loading the bases in the first inning.
Pitchers with a little control problems.
Each team with a mound visit kind of slows things down as Trey Dawson steps in. Batting in the 9-hole as he has all season long for the most part, the Wildcats shortstop has seen his average climbing through conference play. It's dipped a little bit of late at 259, but the former LSU Tiger who came to the Wildcats by way of junior college, really starting to figure things out offensively. He's had a remarkable year on defense. Made some really acrobatic plays. At times has struggled with the routine plays, but he has just been outstanding on defense for the Wildcats.
And offensively, it seems like he has a propensity to get the big hit.
He does, doesn't he? Including that series down in Georgia. Had a huge double when the Wildcats needed it.
You wonder how much that experience that Trey Dawson was able to get playing in the Junior College World Series helps him come up in big situations.
Past the diving Liphook, and that's what you've seen him do, Coach. He has just barreled up whenever he could, and he finds a way to help his team.
That ball was right out over the plate, and Trey knew what to do with it, take it right back up the middle.
Brings up the top of the order, Tristan Pompey, the switch hitting outfielder. Drew a walk to lead off the bottom of the first and came around to score on a ground ball. Stole second. Pompey's driven in 28.
This is a great matchup right here, Dick. In my opinion, two former future major league players, Dyson and Pompey, going against each other.
Pompey with a bit of an advantage with a big hole right side of the infield as they hold Trey Dawson. Pompey, another guy, though, who uses the entire ballpark.
Looks like Dyson's approach is to try to use that tailing fastball away from Tristan Pompey. So Tristan is going to need to think the other way with that pitch.
Pompey, 32 strikeouts to go along with the 21 walks. Suffered a sprained ankle away from the field earlier this year. So starting only his 30th game. In this, the 40th game of the season for the Wildcats. Dyson struggling now more than he has all afternoon. Pompey became a switch hitter because his mother suggested it.
It's good move, Mom. Good idea.
Well, he has my favorite name on the team, Coach, because his middle name is Gabriel. Didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't. It's Good name.
Thank you.
I like that name.
Wish I could say I picked it out, but it was given to me, but I'm proud of it. Hitters count for Pompey. They play him straight away in the outfield. Runner goes. Dawson out by about 3 steps, but Pompey had actually drawn the walk. So a break for the Wildcats.
Trey Dawson was out by a mile, so it's a good thing that was a ball 4. If it hadn't been a ball 4, the Cats would be in a 2-out situation.
Yep. And as it stands, Kevin O'Sullivan making his second mound visit of the afternoon as Dyson falls into trouble again with 1 out here in the 2nd inning.
This would be a great time for me to give a shout out to my sister, Dick. She's in the hospital. She's recovering from complications following shoulder replacement surgery. So it's been a tough week for my sis, but she's on the mend, and we're thankful for that. She's watching from Central Baptist Hospital today.
Outstanding. You can almost see it from here, Central Baptist. Well, when you're well enough, your brother's going to help you with that shoulder. He knows a little something about people with shoulder problems.
Yeah, I'll take over where the physical therapist leaves off. We'll have her throwing sliders on the black.
You'll get that fastball back soon enough. Now Troy Squires, he crushed one in the right field his last time up, but right at Will Dalton. Goes the other way with it. Dawson's going to make the turn. They're going to wave him in. Pompey to third. Safe all around as Squires slides in, and the Wildcats with a 2-0 lead on the RBI single by the redshirt senior from Elizabethtown.
Dick, that was a very solid approach by Troy Squires. He just stayed right on that fastball and stroked it to left field, and also good base running by the Wildcats.
But Pompey never hesitated, making the turn on a base hit in front of him. But good speed by Pompey and by Squires. The Wildcats, who had agreed beforehand that they needed to be more aggressive at the plate, have done just that in taking a 2-0 lead. And now Becker with runners at 2nd and 3rd. Action now in the Gator bullpen.
I think Kentucky came out today with a heightened level of awareness, just knowing that this game is very important. And, sometimes when you suffer a couple of losses to the first place team like the Florida Gators, it's easy just to draw into your shell, but these guys have come out and really competed well today. You think about what Justin Lewis has done on the mound and that great approach by Troy Squires. That's a good look.
So much more baseball left to be played today, but the game does have a different feel to it, although Nick Mingione said last night, late in the game when his team was down 4-0, he said, I still thought we were going to win. Because he liked the way his team was competing. Gators broke it open last night with 5 over the 8th and 9th innings that offset the 4 runs Kentucky scored in the 8th and the 9th.
The more I'm around Luke Becker, the more I think, man, I would love to have coached this guy. He just has a great approach. I like his demeanor, the way he carries himself on the field.
Former switch hitter decided to go exclusively from the left side this year, and it's paid off. He is hitting .319 coming into today's game. Drew a walk his first time up. That's a gutsy thing to do, Coach, as a senior in college baseball. You're playing in the SEC, facing some nasty left-handers.
I haven't talked to Luke about that, and I haven't talked to Todd Williams or Nick Mingione about that, but I'd have to think that maybe he just felt so good swinging the bat left-handed during fall that he said, hey, I'm going to stay over here.
It's paid off. And now a 2-2 count from the sophomore Tyler Dyson. Becker spanks it the other way, but right at Langworthy.
Hit a little bit too hard for an RBI. RBI situation there.
Yeah, no opportunity for a sac fly, but you could tell what Becker was trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. He outside pitch goes the other way, but unfortunately right to.
And Langworthy had played him perfectly, despite the fact that Becker is a lefty, had not shifted over toward the alley. So give the Gator defensive mind trust credit as you get a look at Tristan Pompey at third now. And a hot bat at the plate, Cole caught him. Base hit to right field his last time up. Well, for a guy who likes to swing at the first pitch, he let the fastball go by.
Yeah, a good RBI guy in a big RBI situation here.
Got him with 34 runs batted in. Leads the Wildcats in total bases with 101.
Dick, his swing reminds me a little bit. You may remember this guy. Back in the late 80s, we had a guy named Mitch Knox, junior college transfer, and had a swing similar. That had good power to right field. Hit 20 home runs for us in '87. And his strength and size and his approach at the plate reminds me a lot of him.
Got him a junior out of Knoxville. Down on the count, no balls, 2 strikes with 2 on and 2 out. On the fist, but a nice stop by Jonathan India. And what were we saying about his underrated defense? Saved a couple of runs for the Gators, but Kentucky puts another one on the board. Wildcats go to the third with a 2-0 lead on the SEC Network. Justin Lewis has been staked to a 2-0 lead by the Kentucky Wildcats here at Cliff Hagan Stadium. Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison. Third game of a 3-game set. This one, of course, began on Thursday night. The Gators won that one easily. Jumped out to an early lead last night. Held off the Wildcats. Kentucky trying to get out early and does so successfully here today, but Wildcats have left some runners on. They left 10 last night. Now Deacon Lippett leading things off. He was at the plate when Nick Horvath was picked off to end the second inning. Lippett doubled to open the game in the first, but was stranded at third as the Gators loaded him up, but Lewis wriggled off the hook. And, you know, I've seen that, Keith, through the years, and you have too. Teams load them up and then not score. But, well, with all the pressure in this game and the opponent, the Florida Gators. Lippett tries to hold up. Sends the big league fly ball in the left. And there's one out.
Dick, you're absolutely right. It's the opponent and the situation being 2 games down that made what Justin Lewis did really special.
And as you pointed out, this is a crucial game in this stretch of the season where every win, they're all precious, but it becomes magnified the deeper you go, like any year. Now Nelson Maldonado, he also was stranded last time. You know, that first inning included the walk to Maldonado, but also the HP. Jonathan India wore one, and a wild pitch by Lewis. Great curveball, 72 miles an hour.
You know, the Wildcats are still digging themselves out of a hole that they got into it down in Arkansas when Arkansas was just red hot and just put on an offensive show. And it takes a while to recover from that. When you get swept early, you just find yourself constantly in this league struggling to dig out of that hole.
Watch how Lewis changes his delivery, where you saw the tail end of it, but he really skipped that big leg kick, didn't he?
He did. He did. It was almost like a slide step, pulling a runner on first base.
Sam McDowell. Now Jonathan India. Watch the play he made to end the second inning and take a couple of runs away.
There's been a lot of talk about his offense, but look at this. Great diving, stabbing. He throws a seed to first base there.
Stole a couple of runs batted in from Cole Cottom. And again, had him played perfectly off the line. When you talk about magnified, how big would a 4-0 lead look?
When you watch Jonathan India make that play at third base, quick first step, athletic, and then a strong arm. To me, that's a big league third baseman.
0 for 3 on Friday night with a couple of walks, snapped a 24-game hitting streak. And Lewis tantalizing with that pitch, and India couldn't lay off. Ends the inning with back-to-back strikeouts. He's retired 9 straight. Kentucky leads. Back in Lexington, Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison, 6, 7, 8 due up for the Wildcats. And we've talked about this Florida season that has the Gators up 3.5 games on the Bulldogs of Georgia. You see the Wildcats have sunken to 6th place in the SEC East after working their way up to 4th, but a victory here would be a big help, of course. Vanderbilt on the rise, always a dangerous team behind Tim Corbin. And you see Arkansas, you mentioned the Hogs trying to put some space between them and LSU, but Ole Miss has been on the rise of late.
Yeah, Ole Miss has a solid club. Arkansas, obviously, very good. But I think, Dick, the Florida Gators are they're just a notch above. I mean, they're.
Yeah. Luke Heyer has an RBI ground ball, and now he's going to make a turn and dig for a double. Heyer slides in without a throw. And the Wildcats put the leadoff man aboard with a double again.
Luke Heyer's put together a great season this year offensively. He's hitting the ball all over the field, doubles, home runs, big hits when you need them.
Kentucky in all 3 games now has had at least 1 inning where the leadoff man has doubled, but in the other 2, the Cats failed to score. And now Ryan Johnson. Right fielder drew a walk his last time up. Started his career at TCU. Transferred to a junior college, found his way to Lexington.
San Jacinto, right?
That's exactly right, in San Antonio.
Well, he's been in 3 great programs. TCU, one of the great programs in recent times, and San Jack down in Texas has produced numerous major league players. And now he's with the Kentucky Wildcats.
Here comes Kevin O'Sullivan for the 3rd time today, and that's going to do it. A 2-0 count spells the end of the day for Tyler Dawson. And he's on the hook right now with his team trailing 2-0 here in Lexington. We'll tell you about the new arm when we come back on the SEC Network. Boy, Florida just keeps running the fresh young arms out of the bullpen. A freshman, Jack Lepwich, takes over, and there you see he's made already. This will be his 15th appearance. 35 strikeouts and 33 2/3. And he's another guy, Coach, who can bring it.
Yeah, Florida is just they're like a pitching factory. They just keep churning them out. They can run arm after arm after arm. My friend Trey Huntsman and I were talking. They produce pitchers like John Calipari produces point guards. They just keep running them out there.
Lepwich has been a midweek starter. He's started 5 games this year, but also working out of the bullpen. He'll face Ryan Johnson. First pitch swinging. Now 2 balls and 1 strike. And by the way, I said San Jackson San Antonio. It's actually in Pasadena outside Houston. For years and years, I don't know why, but I thought San Jacinto was in San Antonio.
Well, they've produced a lot of great players.
Yeah.
Andy Pettit, one that comes to mind for sure.
Cranked into the alley, but it's going to hang up. Tagging is higher, and he's at third base now with one out. So Johnson rams it deep into left center field with the wind blowing out, but just a little too high.
He has a heads-up move to tag. Not many times you see people tag and a fly ball to left field. Luke Howard does a great job of base running right there.
Well, we talked about aggressive play by the Wildcats, so Langworthy was deep and his momentum was taking him away from the infield, so an opportunity for higher. Brings up Ryan Shin. He just wants to get it into the outfield as the infield draws all the way in, and Leftwich keeps him from getting comfortable. Leftwich got the start against Jacksonville. Did not take the loss, but went 3 1/3.
He's a power arm, no question.
Misses up and in with a breaking ball. Struck out 3, walked 2 in his last appearance. Got a good win against Florida State. Went 5 innings. Struck out 5 against the arch rival. Now falls behind 3-0.
Boy, it has to get under the Seminole fan skin just a little bit to see the Gators ranked #1 coming off a national championship.
I was just about to say, that's got to be as much fun as watching Kentucky and Louisville play baseball.
No question.
They turned him loose on 3-0, and Shin got a good rip.
You know, we heard Shin's name called a lot early in the season, and then not so much at the beginning of the SEC play, and now he's reemerged as an everyday player.
Ryan Johnson got hot. Now Shin draws the walk. He and Shin were platooning in right field, but as hotter Johnson got, the less we saw, of course, of Shin. Now Johnson cooling off a bit, and Shin has been productive. Now Ben Aklinski, as the Gator defense retreats to double play formation. That means there's a big hole on the left side of the infield, although Lippert and India cover ground like those tractors you have on your farm, Coach.
Yeah, he can cover it.
Now that catches the seam where the grass meets the artificial turf, and that's what pushed it foul. That's a tough break for Aklinski, who had an easy RBI single had it remained fair. He hides it very well and drops it down really well. Now watch it hit the seam right there.
That's it.
It took a hard right turn.
That's a tough break. Early in the season, Aklinski was really pulling the ball a lot. I'm surprised to see the Gator outfielders not playing him to pull more.
Straight away. Aklinski a .305 average now, and gets the bunt down, and this time the Gators play it. Schwartz throws him out, but an RBI squeeze bunt, the safety squeeze by Aklinski. It's
Great
a 3-0
execution.
lead.
Yeah, it's really good execution by Aklinski, and came up big right there. I've been impressed with the Wildcats' ability to bunt since Nick Mingione has been here. He and Roe Fanning and Todd Williams have done a great job of teaching these guys how to bunt. It's a lost art, but these guys do a great job.
Against Texas Tech, the Wildcats dropped down 3 straight safety squeeze bunts, and all 3 of them were just about perfect. Trey Dawson with an opportunity to extend the lead.
Well, they say hitting's contagious. I guess bunting is too,
Yeah,
right?
but well, you got to be schooled pretty well, though.
Yeah.
You're right. Bunting's been impressive at times for the Wildcats. Dawson with a base hit in the second inning came around to score. Sent a hard hit ground ball back up through the middle his last time up. Transfer from Hurricane, West Virginia. Thought about laying one down with the infield deep. And Dawson with good speed. The new ballpark just across the way will have artificial turf everywhere, so Kentucky will have to figure out the complexities of bunting on that surface. Good pitch by Leftwich down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. An Orlando native, another homegrown talent. So much talent down in the state of Florida. In all sports.
That's true. I remember the first high school football game I saw in Florida, Lakeland High. They must have had 90 guys on the sideline.
Well, you know, I remember seeing many, many years ago a high school game in Louisiana, and it just looks different. There's just so much speed.
That's right.
In areas like that really pour a lot of talent into high school football, high school athletics in general. It's almost like they're playing a different sport. Although high school football has made great strides here in Kentucky through the years. A full count to Trey Dawson with a man at second and a run in. Not quite the same spot. Lippett's there for the easy play. And Wildcats are out of the inning. They strand one, but they push across another and will go to the fourth. Kentucky has scored in each of the first 3 innings here on the SEC Network. 5, 6, 7 due up for the Florida Gators here in Lexington. 3-0 Kentucky leads it, and there you take a look at where these two teams rate in the Southeastern Conference. The top 2 offensive teams in the SEC. Talked about the strides the Florida Gators have taken, and maybe the bigger surprise is Kentucky, after all the great offense that graduated or went on to the pros from last year's team, and Cats have picked up where they left off.
Yeah, you think about Riley Mahan and Evan White, Zach Rex, Tyler Marshall. They lost a lot of offense from that team.
Will Dalton, who has crushed the ball this weekend, trying to bunt his way on. And why not? The Kentucky infield is way back for the right-handed power hitter. 15 homers, he's driven in 45. Last night, the triple that he sent over the head of Beniklinski was an absolute missile, and he went down to get it. That pitch was probably about 10 inches off the ground.
Yeah, I don't know how you hit it that hard.
No, and in fact, Nick Mingione was talking to his team about last night's game. He said sometimes you just have to tip your cap. Guy made a great play. It was not a bad pitch by Jelly. Difficult play for Raklinski in center. Those ones that come at you on a line right over your head.
They're the hardest ones to judge.
Lewis got the outside edge, 7 strikeouts, and a dangerous hitter heading back to the dugout for the Gators.
Yeah, Will Dalton sort of looked at this pitch in disbelief. It did look like it might have been a little bit outside, so you can understand his shock there.
Thank Troy Squires for framing the play.
Yeah. And you know what? If an umpire is going to give that to you, you need to live out there as a pitcher.
That is 3 consecutive strikeouts now for Lewis.
He had 4 consecutive earlier in the
4
game.
out of 5.
Yeah. Or was it 4 out of 5? Okay.
He's retired 10 straight. All of this, actually, 9 out of 10. He walked a man, but then picked him off. All of this after loading the bases. As I said earlier, he hit a man. Uncorked a wild pitch. Did not look like himself, and then suddenly he looked like the old Justin Lewis. You know, you talk about his emotion coming off the field. When he does struggle every once in a while, his emotions get the better of him on the mound, and he needs to take a moment.
You know, his passion to have success and to win for his team. You know, sometimes your greatest strength can be your greatest enemy. And he's still young and he's still growing, and he has great stuff, and he will grow into that. And I think be an outstanding professional pitcher.
Absolutely. Turned down the 11th round money from Tampa Bay to come back and pitch another year for the Wildcats. Playable, at least at first. Squires runs out of room.
That's a tough play. He had a shot at it, but it was just right on the edge of the dugout, on the fence that goes along top of the dugout. You'll see it here. He's drawn a bead on it, and I think his feet actually hit the fence first. Probably threw him off just a little bit right there. That's a tough play for a catcher, I tell you. If you've ever tried to catch a ball with that much backspin, you'll understand what I mean.
Now you wonder, should he have given way to Cottom?
That's a very good point.
Better angle.
And that's just an example of Cottom not having a whole lot of experience at first base.
Yes. Froze him with the changeup. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the fourth inning. That's 4 straight. In a game that looked like it might be disastrous for Justin Lewis, he has become masterful.
It looked initially like that pitch might have been high, but if you look at that view, it's right below the letters.
Yep. And you wonder, why do guys, and you touched on this earlier, Coach, why do you have so much trouble with a changeup that's only maybe 83 miles an hour, as you get a good look at Austin Langworthy? But as you well know from coaching pitchers here at Kentucky for 2.5 decades, you get a guy out there with a decent fastball, and your little trigger mechanism is going to go off almost immediately during the windup. Next thing you know, you're trying to stop everything, and you either can't get a good swing or you just let it go and hope it's a ball.
That's right. You know, sometimes a hitter's ego is a pitcher's best friend. Nobody wants the ball thrown by them with the fastball, so you're right. You're geared for the fastball.
Well, you have to be.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not, you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
So when you change speeds like that, it's very effective. Deception is such a huge part of that, and Justin Lewis does a great job of not slowing down his motion and just letting the grip do the work.
High, but not deep enough. Johnson, that'll do it. 3 up, 3 down. Once again, nothing across for the Gators. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth. It's Kentucky 3, Florida nothing. The SEC Network. 3-0 Kentucky with the lead. Bottom of the fourth inning. Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison at Cliff Hagan Stadium as the Wildcats try to salvage a game from this 3-game set. Florida's already won the series. First home series the Wildcats have dropped this year. Tristan Pompey still looking for his first official at-bat. After drawing a pair of walks, he's stolen a base, scored a run.
Hey, Dick, is it okay if I brag a little bit?
Have I ever been able to stop you?
My grandson hit a grand slam the other night, 10 years old.
Wow. And I'm sure he was playing against 16-year-olds.
No,
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he was so excited.
Well, he should be.
Braden Madison.
I was about to ask you for the name.
Yeah.
Leftwich trying to keep the Wildcats from adding any more damage. They've hung up single runs in each of the first 3. Pompey tries to go the other way, but Lipwood makes the grab. So they retire the Kentucky left fielder for the first time today. That's another thing you got to point out, Keith, is that Yeah, the scores of the first two games have looked like the Gators have plowed through the Wildcats, but Kentucky has had men on in almost every inning of each of the first two games.
Yeah, and earlier in the season, it seemed like in those situations they almost always get a big hit.
Yep.
But just didn't happen this weekend.
Troy Squires stepping in. By the way, one thing we haven't talked about, we've mentioned the fact that a couple of players have struggled a bit here and there, and one of them is T.J. Collette, who's been a real fixture in the Kentucky lineup. Good breaking ball by Leftwich, but the DH, who's one of the top home run hitters in the SEC, has been struggling of late.
Yeah,
so we haven't seen him this weekend.
Yeah, and that's a shame because, man, it's great to have a guy with that kind of power in your lineup, and he can hit them a long way. He's just fun to watch. But hopefully he can get everything going in the right direction and be back at the right time.
Troy Squires has made a science of doing just that for each of the last two seasons for the Wildcats, going the other way.
Dick, he handles the bat as well as any hitter in the league. He can just do that, hit the ball the other way on a great pitch, low and away, but he just doesn't try to do too much. He goes with it. He can also lay down a bunt.
Yep.
He's just an outstanding SEC hitter.
And runs extremely well. Let's throw in the qualifier for a catcher. Usually you see catchers, they aren't the swiftest players, but really at the college level, that's not always the case. Squires has excellent speed.
He does.
Luke Becker trying to take advantage with a man on and one out.
You know, Troy Squires is just a baseball player. You know, he does a lot of things well.
Came to the Wildcats as an infielder. Sat out his first year. In fact, that was the 2014 season that saw A.J. Reed sweep the Player of the Year awards, including the Olerud Award for Best Two-Way Player. Troy said, you know, he never got to play with him in a regular season game as a redshirt, but he said he played against him in inter-squad, and he said he just toyed with us as a pitcher.
One of the greatest years in the history of college baseball. Just a guy that did it big time on the mound. And maybe even bigger time as a hitter.
Yeah, you know, there may be Golden Spikes winners who had bigger numbers than Reed, and Reed had big numbers, but as you said, also did it on the mound. And I think in 7 of his 10 SEC starts, he got the win and had a home run.
Wow.
Becker tries to poke it through the hole, but nice play by Blake Reese covering some ground.
He covered a lot of ground there. Our friend Doug Flynn would have been proud of that young second baseman right there. He comes a long way after that ground ball and then makes a spinning throw to first base. He made it look easy, but for most of us, that's an impossible play to make.
So the defense helps young Mr. Leftwich, but a man in scoring position for Cole Cottom, who is 1 for 2 on the day. Should have been 2 for 2, but Jonathan India robbed him of a 2-run single his last time up. And he looks at a fastball.
Dick, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, Florida's improvement in offense, and it's huge. And also their great pitching, but something that goes unnoticed is the great defense they play.
Absolutely.
Not only in the outfield, but in the infield all around. They're just an outstanding defensive club.
Cottom can't lay off the high stuff. Last night swung at a pitch around his shoulders. Down on the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Squires away to his lead. Great pitch by Leftwich. At the knees on the outer edge. And the Wildcats leave a man in scoring position, and for the first time, they fail to score in an inning. We'll go to the 5th. It's Kentucky 3, Florida nothing on the SEC Network. Nice crowd in Lexington today at Cliff Hagan Stadium, where the Wildcats have a 3-0 lead on the Florida Gators. Top of the 5th inning, and that young man has been rolling along. Justin Lewis saw the Gators load him up in the top of the first with nobody out, and then he went to work and has been untouchable with the exception of one walk ever since.
You're right, Dick. He's put together back-to-back great starts, and this one has been very, very fun to watch.
Brady Smith struck out his last time up, one of 8 strikeout victims for Lewis. Starts him off with a soft stuff. I'm talking about his changeup, which is his go-to pitch. You mentioned to him one day Mario Soto, the great Cincinnati Red. Now they talk about it, and now Dawson says he'll take it.
Look how far Dawson is from his shortstop position. I believe Dawson could play center field. He's got some range out there in the outfield. He leaves his shortstop position and goes all the way basically to right center field and catches a fly ball.
Klinsky could have called him off, but you saw Dawson had already claimed it.
Yeah, I was asking Justin if he'd ever heard of Mario Soto, and he said no. And I told him, I said, you need to get some.
Yeah.
You need to Google that because your changeup, like your changeup's a lot like his. I saw Soto strike out Darryl Strawberry 3 times in a row.
Wow.
On a changeup.
Well, famously, as Blake Reese steps in, Soto had a great career in the bigs with a fastball and a changeup.
That's about all he threw.
Now, Lewis has mixed in a slider this year. We haven't seen it much today. He hasn't really needed it yet.
I saw one today that was really good. So that pitch is coming around, and that's just another weapon.
You know, one reason he may not know Mario Soto is because he played for the Reds. Lewis is a Dodger fan, believe it or not, even though he's from Atlanta. He's a big Dodger fan and has these Dodger pajama pants he wears every night. How's that for inside info? That's impressive, isn't it?
How do you know that?
He told us. We did a little feature on the Nick Mingione Coach's show. We're like, sir, you're a Dodger fan, huh? Yep, wear my Dodger pants. Somebody, it was a gift, know, from one of his relatives who was a Dodger fan, and that won him over. 2-2 to Reese. Playable for a Klinsky. 2 out.
Our friend Trey Huntsman in the booth with us is also a Dodger fan.
I didn't know that. Are you really?
Yeah.
No.
He's wearing a Dodger T-shirt right now.
Well, I give Trey credit as well. That miniature computer in his hand he used to look up the name of the young man who ruined a perfect game for Justin Lewis. UC Santa Barbara came in here last year. Wildcats swept the Gauchos, who were nationally ranked at the time. It's a great baseball program, and Justin was just rolling along as Nick Horvath, the number 9 hitter, tries to bunt his way on. But Austin Bush, who is a powerful left-handed hitting first baseman, launched a changeup about 8 rows deep in the parking lot to ruin the shutout, no-hitter, perfect game. And Justin shrugged it off later. He said, it was my best pitch, and he hit it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to give the other guy credit.
Yep. As Nick Mingione likes to say, sometimes you just have to tip your cap. I can still see that ball going out of the ballpark and feeling the stadium exhale in disappointment. And I think that was one of the periods last year, Coach, when you thought that Kentucky team really had a chance to be special. That and the sweep of A&M down in College Station.
Yeah, you're right. When I saw them sweep A&M, and I knew A&M had a great club.
Came back from the College World Series.
Yeah, I knew they had something really good going on.
Lewis didn't miss by much, and now a dangerous count to Horvath. He's the number 9 hitter, but 5 home runs on the year.
A lot of umpires in the stands today.
Yeah. 298 hitter. And Lewis issues his 3rd walk of the day. And now the top of the order. Deacon Lippett Fly ball to left his last time up. Double to right to open the game. A junior from Oviedo, Florida. 3 home runs. He's driven in 23.
Deacon Lippett's really a good-looking player, man. I like the way he handles himself as a hitter, but he has really thrown some leather out there on the infield this weekend as well.
By the way, that's the second time Lewis has walked Horvath, the number 9 hitter. Great pitch. Bottom falls out. Down and in to a left-hander. Horvath is seeing the ball well. 353 average in his last 5 games. Lippert 3 for 14 this weekend.
Wow.
And again, that didn't miss by much.
Troy Squires wanted that one.
If anything, it was inside because that was above the knees.
Yeah, it was right there. But you know, the men in blue, sometimes they don't call them like we see them. They call them like they see them, right?
Doggone it. A balk. So a free base for the Gators, who put a man in scoring position for just the second time today. Now Nick Mingione wants to know, what did he do? Did you see anything?
You know, I to be honest with you, I wasn't watching, but let's see what happens. I didn't see anything. That looks like a good move to me.
Yeah. Maybe that right foot moved too soon.
The only thing that possibly he could have called is, I don't know.
Well, he wasn't set yet.
I'd love to hear that conversation.
If he was on the rubber.
Here's another look, I think. I don't know.
It might have been the way that right foot moved. He didn't step back off the rubber, but he wasn't set. So Mingione getting a word with the crew chief, David Brown.
Well, I can assure you Nick Mingione's not buying what he had to sell.
You know, there was a controversial call in a game earlier this year here at the Cliff, and a lot of us thought it was just a terrible decision, and yet the next day we were talking to Nick, and Nick said they got it right. And they referred to a rule that Nick said, I didn't know. I didn't know that rule. Opportunity for the Gators. Now, a younger Justin Lewis might have been rattled here, and who's to say Lippett may just poke one into the outfield, driving a run. But after issuing a walk and then a balk, we've already seen Lewis work out of one horrible situation here back in the first inning. And he's 1 strike away. Becker on the run. Unearned run for the Gators on an uncharacteristic error by the senior second baseman.
Looks like he just threw it offline.
Absolutely.
I don't think Cottom had a chance.
So that scores Horvath.
Looked like a relatively routine play, really.
Horvath draws a walk with 2 outs and nobody on. And the Gators end up scoring a run.
Well, Justin Lewis did his job. He got him to roll over on an outside off-speed pitch. It was a great pitch.
Now that balk looks so much bigger.
It does.
Becker just his 5th error of the year. Nelson Maldonado.
You know, earlier in the game, Dick, you said that Maldonado seemed like he's been around a long time. It really does. He's played a lot since he's been in Florida, and he has a lot of tournament experience. Yep. He's been a very solid contributor to this team.
Drew a walk in the first, struck out in the third.
He's only a junior. Seems like he should be at least a senior. Eight doubles, 6 home runs, putting together another solid year for the Gators.
The DH today, Maldonado from Tampa, Jefferson High School.
Tampa, what a hotbed for baseball.
Oh, man. Hammered. Johnson on the run. Takes an extra base hit away from Nelson Maldonado, but the Gators scratch on the error by the Wildcats. Could have been worse. Johnson to the rescue in right field. Kentucky 3, Florida 1. We're back in a minute on the SEC Network. Only 9 more regular season games, and actually counting this one because they haven't flipped the sign yet at Cliff Hagan Stadium. Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison, former Kentucky coach who hasn't seen every game in this ballpark, but he, I guarantee you, has seen the most.
Well,
Would you agree with that?
Probably. I look at that number 9 out there that you just flashed up, and it's hard to believe there's only going to be 9 more games as this season has flown by.
8 more after today.
Yeah, 8 more after today. And, but this has been like a home away from home for me.
Oh, yeah. Luke Heyer trying to find his way on again.
You know, it's really fun to see the fans all the way down that left field side like that, even standing in the track stadium.
Yes.
To watch the game.
Which became a really popular place. And, of course, the Cliff right there has been just a wonderful place to take in a game. Heyer, of course, doubled the lead off the third, came around and scored. But during the NCAA regional game here last year, there have been 2 regionals here. And the track stadium had been renovated since then, but that set of bleachers back behind the baseball park was a solid smash by Heyer, but Horvath hauls it in.
Well, Horvath can cover some ground. He gets great jumps on the ball out there in center field. He's just a natural center fielder. Outstanding player out there for the Gators.
See how powerful Heyer is. He went down to get that one. And Horvath, great jump. Just enough of an angle to help him. But anyhow, the track bleachers are brand new. It's a great place to take in part of the ball game as Ryan Johnson swings at the first pitch, 2 out.
And it's free up there.
Yep.
And it's free out there on the deck, right?
Yep. And now with 2 out. And for the first time today, a Gator pitcher has retired the first 2 men in the inning. There you see the top of the bleachers next door. Ryan Shin will try to keep the inning going. Ryan looking for his first home run as a Wildcat. A breaking ball. And boy, that set of bleachers next to the track was a popular spot during the regional. Again, playable for Horvath. Almost overran it. And for the first time today, the Wildcats go down in order. 3 up, 3 down, nothing across for Kentucky. On to the 6th with the Wildcats leading it 3-1, the SEC Network. Since the early stages of this game, it's been the Justin Lewis Show, Coach, in a variety of spots in the strike zone, but a lot of change-ups, a little bit of breaking ball.
Yeah, with Justin Lewis, everything moves. Even when he throws a high changeup, it has movement. And his fastball has good tailing move. Look at that changeup dip and dive. It's just an incredible pitch. Very seldom you see that much movement on a changeup. You see that high one, even up around the letters, it's still moving.
8 strikeouts in just 5 innings. You saw the 3 walks, but none has hurt him as of yet. Easy play for Dawson, and there's 1 out. That's pitcher's best friend right there, a 1-pitch out. maybe next to a double play, the pitcher best throw.
You know, a lot of right-handed pitchers will throw their changeups quite often to left-handed hitters, but Justin Lewis's changeup is so good that he throws it a lot to right-handed hitters too.
Are you surprised, and you played professionally, there are a lot of guys, it's not unusual now for people, especially in the bigs, as Will Dalton stands in, to throw in the mid-90s. You see it every once in a while in the college game, and then as guys get older and stronger, they add a mile or two. Why don't more people throw changeups if they're capable of throwing in the mid-90s? It seems like obviously it would make that fastball so much more dangerous, but it's not easy, is it?
Well, I think it's not easy. For some pitchers, it's a very tough pitch to learn because you have to maintain the same arm speed that you have with the fastball, and you have to trust your grip to change the speed for you. And Justin Lewis does that really well. And I think a lot of pitchers.
Dalton off the fists, another easy play for Dawson, 2 out.
I think a lot of pitchers get enamored with velocity, and here's another look at this soft line drive. Just a really great located pitch by Justin Lewis. That's an easy out right there. But I think they get enamored with the fastball, and they don't want to give in and throw off-speed pitches. But it's like we were talking about in between innings, Dick. In the big leagues, everybody's throwing in the mid-90s now. So, and hitters just adjust. You know, they just tune it up a notch. So if you don't have an off-speed pitch, you're going to get hit around a little bit, and that's another reason I think Justin Lewis is going to be an outstanding professional pitcher, is because he already has that great changeup.
J.J. Schwartz has struck out twice. With the heart of the order for the Gators, Jonathan India, who grounded out, you just saw him to the shortstop, Will Deaton, and J.J. Schwartz. Among them are 0 for 7 with an HP and 5 strikeouts against Justin Lewis.
Yeah, and this is not your average college lineup either.
Well, they proved that the first 2 nights here in Lexington. All 3 of those gentlemen have had success this weekend in the 2 Gator victories. Lewis a strike away from shutting down the Gators again. Easy pickup for Hire. 1, 2, 3 for the Wildcats. Gators out in order. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. Kentucky 3, Florida 1. Back in just a minute on the SEC Network. 3-1 the Wildcats trying to take at least one game here in the series with the Gators. And as you can see, they have won every series they have played this year, Keith, including a pair of sweeps, one of them against 12th ranked Vanderbilt. Conversely, the Wildcats have split their series thus far, and that sweep at Arkansas was damaging, but so was the loss at Alabama, which, with due respect, the Wildcats went in as I don't know if it was a heavy favorite, but that was a surprise.
Yes, it was.
That Alabama won that series. And you better get Alabama now before Brad Bohannon works his magic as a recruiter.
Yeah, Brad's a great recruiter, and he will get it going at Alabama.
Beniklinski tries to find his way on. Brad, of course, the former assistant coach and lead recruiter here at Kentucky under John Cohen and Gary Henderson. Went to Auburn before he took the head coaching job at Alabama. And Aklinski drives it the other way, deep to right, but playable.
Dick, I agree with you that, to me, the tough weekend for the Cats was the one at Alabama.
Yeah.
You got to come out of there with at least 2 wins, and that was just a tough weekend for the Cats.
I saw a clever tweet last night as Auburn was really hammering Alabama. And Ben Jones, who formerly covered the Wildcats here in Lexington, now covers Alabama, said, if it makes you feel any better, the guy who recruited the players in the Auburn dugout is now working in the Alabama dugout.
That's a good point.
It was a great point.
Yeah.
Off the end of the bat, simple play for Reese, and he can't make the play.
Boy, it never fails. Last inning, we were bragging about the Florida defense, and That time a very routine, easy play. He just drops the ball.
Can't make any excuses there.
No, he just, even after he transferred.
Wasn't the exchange, that's right.
Just didn't get a good grip.
So now it's up to Kentucky as the number 9 hitter finds his way on for the second time today. To take advantage, Tristan Pompey looking for his first base hit. Pompey, a pair of walks, a run scored, and a pop fly to shortstop. Now the Gators are second in the conference in defense. They are 5th in the NCAA coming into this weekend, although they committed an error on Thursday and last night. No chance at the double play, and Dawson safe at second on the ground ball out by Pompey. So the Gator defense now 1 error in each of the 3 games.
It's another softly hit ground ball to second baseman, and this time he makes the perfect transition from glove to hand and makes the easy play. You know, the thing about Florida is they're a great offensive team. They're a great defensive team. They have great pitching. They're well coached. They have balance. I mean, it's one of the best. It's one of the best teams I've ever seen in the Southeastern Conference.
You've seen a lot of them. Now Troy Squires, he has been a thorn for the Gators, 2 for 3. An RBI single in the second inning. Both of his base hits have come to left field. Spinner drops in for a strike. You know, we've talked a lot about his ability, Squires, to hit him everywhere. And one of the teams that came in here, it might have been Texas Tech, put the big left-hander shift on against Squires, and I wondered, boy, have they ever seen this guy play? Because there's a lot of video out there.
Yeah, he can really go the other way.
Remember, he took full advantage.
Yeah, and he can, you know, he can drag bunt. He can go the other way.
Yep.
So he's probably the last guy I'd want to put the shift on with.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Talked about A.J. Reed earlier. Boy, the shifts we saw on that guy.
Yeah, the second baseman were playing right field, basically.
They were. And the shortstop was playing second base, it
Yep.
seemed like. And, you know, I think it was at Vanderbilt. He actually got a bunt down. You know.
Well, the thing with A.J. Reed is you can't put the outfielders on the other side of the fence.
That's true.
So
1 ball, 2 strikes to Troy Squires. Right at the second baseman. Reese, a busy inning. And the Gators absorb the error with no damage done. So 6 in the books. It's Kentucky 3, Florida 1 on the SEC Network. Back in Lexington, top of the 7th inning. Nick Gabriel, Keith Madison, 3-1 Kentucky with the Florida Gators, a 2-run lead for the Wildcats. And we've talked about the Golden Spikes won by A.J. Reed 4 years ago. Some of the Gators with their eye on one of the top prizes in college baseball. You've got a relief pitcher, a third baseman, and a starting pitcher. And all are having outstanding seasons.
they sure are. Byrne got roughed up a little bit last night.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Michael Byrne gave up 3 runs last night here in Lexington, but already
Very
10
uncharacteristic.
saves.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's a great pitcher. He has great feel on the mound. There's guys that throw harder than he does. There's guys that have better breaking balls, but he's a great competitor with great feel on the mound, and what a great person to have in your bullpen.
Austin Langworthy leading things off for the Gators, and Lewis gets him to chase down and in. Langworthy trying to make it a 1-run game.
It's interesting how the Florida players, as good as they were last year, winning the national championship, and they've improved this year. Guys like India, he's putting up bigger numbers. Singer's pitching better than he did last year. So, boy, that's a force to be reckoned with.
Well, you've got to think right now the Gators, as Langworthy stays alive,
Lewis got it in on his hands that time.
Got to think they're going to host a regional with a shot at a super regional before they head for Omaha. Not a foregone conclusion, but it's going to take a great effort to keep them out of the College World Series again. Pick up by Becker. Nicely done by the Wildcats second baseman, and there's one out.
Luke Becker showing some range here, going far to his left to make a nice play at second base. Showing good range.
So now Brady Smith has popped out to short and struck out. We were talking about a former Kentucky staffer, Brad Bohannon, now at Alabama. Got to give a shout out to the Florida athletic director of all people, and that is our buddy Scott Strickland, who was on the athletics staff here under Mitch Barnhart.
Yeah, great person.
He's the guy in charge of media relations here as an assistant AD before he went home to Starkville, to the alma mater, Mississippi State. Did a nice job there. Oversaw the rise of Bulldog football all the way to #1 in the country.
Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to know Scott when he was on the staff here. And I still remember watching John Cohen's team, Kentucky team, play at Vanderbilt, and I was in town for that series. And he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, let's go out in right field and watch this one." So we went out there and just had a great conversation for 9 innings and watched the Cats win one against the Commodores that day.
Mentioned Scott was at the alma mater at Mississippi State before. You get a chance to run the athletic department in Florida, a huge school with a big budget, you're going to jump on that. He got him. Brady Smith just could not resist. Seductive pitch by Justin Lewis.
Great location, low and outside with good movement. Justin Lewis is feeling it today.
You know, believe it or not, that's his first strikeout since the 4th inning.
But they're not making solid contact.
Nope.
Everything, it seems like almost everything they're hitting is soft. Because he's getting the movement and he's locating pretty well right
Well, you
now.
wonder, did Kevin O'Sullivan and his staff have a word with their hitters in there saying, look, man, let's do this instead of that. So, yeah, they are making contact, but not putting anything together. It's tough to put something together with a pitch like that. Of course, Strickland took over in Florida for the great Jeremy Foley. What a department he built.
Oh, man. In all sports.
Yep. 3-pitch strikeout, and Justin Lewis is feeling it. Back-to-back Ks to end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. Kentucky 3-4-1. The SEC. First scholarship baseball players in the history of Kentucky baseball, and a guy who actually, if you ask me, created sports marketing when it comes to college athletics.
Yeah, he's a Naismith Hall of Fame.
And a lot of halls.
Yeah, he pitched in the White Sox organization, was a great pitcher here at Kentucky back in the day, and just a brilliant man who had a vision and worked very hard to make those dreams come true.
So many of us who work for Host Communications consider ourselves fortunate. I learned so much from him, both as a freelancer and then when I worked full-time for him for a couple of years in his operation down in Dallas. And it was a startup operation, and you know, things are just everywhere, and he'd come to town and answer my questions, solve my problems, and go back to Lexington, you know. So, but he's so much fun to talk baseball. He's a huge, as you know, Kentucky baseball fan. Rarely misses a home game, and he and Nick Mingione have breakfast once a week, and they converse quite a bit. Nick welcomes that. And in fact, Jim is so proud of the fact that the 1959 Wildcats, Becker lacing it right at Will Dalton. The 59 Wildcats won 18 games, and that was a record at the time for victories in the UK history.
Big, hard-throwing right-hander from Ashland, Kentucky.
That's right. You know, we've been bragging so much on Justin Lewis. You need to think about what Leftwich has done for the Gators. He came on and allowed one run to come in, not charged to him. But since then has held the Wildcats scoreless for the last 3+ innings.
Yeah, he's been very good. And as we mentioned earlier, Florida just keeps running power arms out there, one after the other.
Double barrel action down in the Gator bullpen. Kentucky bullpen comes alive. Cole Cottom trying to find his way on for the second time. Singled back in the first. Well, Cole just so powerful.
He is. I was just thinking that same thing. You know, to handle that pitch, just to even make contact, up and in, and he just so strong, just can muscle the ball out there sometimes.
Well, his teammates talk about the work he does in the weight room. You know, we've talked a lot about the years since Jim Post played, since you were coaching here, and by the way, weight training has changed.
It really
in
has.
College baseball.
And Cole Cottom's definitely taking advantage of that.
Yep. Compact swing, but right at Will Dalton, a couple of steps back.
Yeah, he really didn't square that one up well, but he's so strong, he still hit it almost 300 feet. But more than all the athletic ability and strength that Cole Cottom has, the thing I appreciate about him so much is just the way he leads. He's a leader on this team, and he's a great competitor. He's been fun to watch in his career.
Nick Mingione has talked a lot about the fact that when both Cottom and Squires are on the field, one or the other behind the plate, he said it's great because it gives us two leaders. Catchers generally are vocal leaders. They have to be. But he said even with Troy behind the plate, he said Cole will not hesitate from first base to walk in and counsel a young pitcher.
That's a great quality.
Luke Heyer with 2 out, looking for his second base hit, had a double back in the 3rd inning, scored a run.
When you have guys like Squires and Cottom, not only do they lead vocally, they lead by example.
Yep.
You know, very good students, very hard workers, very good teammates.
Talked to Tyler Marshall earlier this week, the brother of Brett Marshall. Tyler, a key part of last year's Kentucky team, said he was going to be up for the games this weekend. Tyler living back in Louisville now, his hometown. Got a chance to watch his brother pitch last night. Brett coming off Tommy John surgery, used sparingly this year, but struck out the side. It's a foot race to the bag, and Heyer wins it on an awkward play by the Gators.
You know, the right side of the infield's let the Gators down a little bit late in this game. You'll see this replay here. The first baseman comes way off the bag. Probably should have left that one for the second baseman to field, but he came way off the bag and sort of got in the way of the second baseman, and I think it probably caused him to make an awkward throw.
I was going to say Blake Reese tried to just flip it to the bag, and the Wildcats are alive with Ryan Johnson standing in.
Sometimes first basemen get a little overly aggressive on ground balls on the right side, and it's a much easier play to make the play from the first baseman to the pitcher as opposed to the second baseman to the pitcher.
Still no ruling on the play, hit or error. And Johnson trying to find something he can square up. Grounded out, fly ball. It's been ruled an error now. Second of the game for Florida. Second for Reese. Wildcats couldn't take advantage last time Florida booted one. Caught Johnson looking, a 3-pitch strikeout for Leftwich. So just as Lewis has battled out of some tough situations, Leftwich hasn't let the errors hurt him. It's a 3-1 Kentucky lead to the bottom of the 7th. Dick Gabriel, Keith Madison at Cliff Hagan Stadium. Gorgeous day for baseball. It's been a good one. 3-1 Kentucky. It's turned into a real pitcher's duel thanks to this young man, Justin Lewis. But credit, as we mentioned earlier, Florida's Jack Leftwich, the freshman, coming out of the bullpen to silence these Wildcat hitters. They put up single runs in each of the first 3 innings. But Lewis has been on or around the plate from the 4th hitter of the game on. After the Gators loaded the bases with nobody out in the first, Lewis has been overpowering, if you can say that, Keith, about a guy who throws a pitch every other time, it seems. It goes about 83 miles an hour.
Right. But his changeup is such a great pitch in that it has great movement, and he throws it so often.
There you see as he fooled Horvat and finally retires the number 9 hitter in the order, Coach. He had walked twice and scored a run, and so now Lewis will pitch to the top of the order with 1 out.
Yeah, his changeup's almost like a screwball.
It really is.
And Leftwich, you don't see many freshmen coming out of the bullpen and dominate a good hitting team like a Kentucky or Florida or Arkansas, but he has really been special.
Pitching with a lot of maturity, looks like a veteran. Deacon Lippitt reached on an error his last time up, and that was vital because it helped the Gators score their only run here in a 3-1 game. Boy, 76. And Lippitt just had to watch it go by. You saw him lift that front foot.
Yeah. They call it pulling the string, and that's exactly what Justin Lewis can do. It's like he's playing yo-yo.
Lippitt doubled to open the game, went to third on a wild pitch, but was stranded. Yanked it into the right field corner. Changing speeds again. And as you can see on your screen, 115 pitches for Lewis. So after this inning, they may turn things over to the Kentucky bullpen. And Lewis threw a lot of pitches in that first inning.
The good thing about Lewis, though, is he doesn't throw that many fastballs. So that was a good one there. That was a good fastball. But, when you throw a lot of changeups, you can throw a few more pitches. Your pitch count can get up a little bit more. You can see it here. No, that was a change. I messed up. The bottom just dropped out of that thing. What a great pitch.
11 strikeouts now for Justin Lewis. And the fans keeping track on the cliff. That's part of the fun out there. It's a little bit like Rupp Arena where they hang up the threes for every 3-pointer the Wildcats make. Nelson Maldonado couldn't hold up.
Well, Justin Lewis has got a great rhythm right now. Very confident man out there on that bump.
7 of the 9 hitters for the Gators have been strikeout victims at least one time. For the redshirt junior out of Atlanta. End of the bat, Tristan Pompey squeezes. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. The Wildcats will look for insurance. It's a 3-1 Kentucky lead here on the SEC Network. Kentucky 3, Florida 1, bottom of the 8th inning. The Wildcats on their toes and a big hug for Lewis. And there's Ryan Shin jamming one off the wall in right field. He'll make the turn as the Gators chase it down. Dalton thought he had a shot at it, but overran it, and Kentucky again with a leadoff double.
I think Dalton would agree with me. That ball seemed to just pick up velocity as it traveled. It had great backspin, and it got out there on that wall in a hurry. You see, boom. Great stroke right there, and that ball got out there on that right field wall quickly.
Ryan Shin's 5th double of the year. 16 base hits for Ryan and 5 of them for 2 bags. Also has a triple on the season and a clutch base hit here in the bottom of the 8th as Kentucky needs to put distance between itself and the top-ranked Gators. We may have seen the last of Justin Lewis. Ben Aklinski. India with an easy play.
Leftwich has been dominant before giving up that leadoff double. He's really been outstanding out of the pen for the Gators today. Big right-hander, freshman, coming in and just throwing gas. And
that was just the second hit he's given up.
Yeah, he's been special today.
Gators committed a couple of errors behind him, but they were able to survive them. So now Trey Dawson with 1 out and a man in scoring position. Leftwich came on with nobody out in the 3rd inning. Higher had led off with a double. He did issue a walk.
Looks like Leftwich started Dawson off with a breaking ball that time.
Mentioned earlier, Leftwich has been a midweek starter, so the fact that he has come out of the bullpen and stretched out here is not all that unusual. But against the top offense in the SEC, it's been really impressive. But that tells you about Justin Lewis as well, as the Gators, depending on how you rate them, are either the 2nd or 3rd best offense in the conference. Dawson 1 for 3 on the day, a single, a run scored back in the 2nd. Reached on an error in the 6th inning.
DK like those old school stirrups the Cats are wearing.
They came in a couple of weeks ago. They've been wearing what they call the creams, the throwback jerseys, which are a different shade of white. And they added the stirrups, and the players love them. Players love the uniforms and the socks.
Doug Flynn and I need to teach him how to do the donut at the top of the stirrup. You know, you actually pull the stirrup up, pull your pants down, and roll it over so they stay up.
Well, I think they want to show the as much of the blue as they can.
There's an art to that.
Yeah.
But that's a great look, man. I love that.
Hammered by Dawson, but again, right at Langworthy. Once again, a Kentucky hitter just squares one up, but a Gator defender is standing there waiting.
Hitting those atom balls.
Yep. Here's what lies ahead for Kentucky. An out-conference game with Morehead State from right down the interstate. Then a big series with Missouri and a trip to Knoxville, followed up by a trip to play a good Indiana ball club on May 8th. Well, Indiana has developed into a really strong baseball program in the Big Ten.
They really had. Tracy Smith did a great job there before moving on to Arizona State. Now Chris Lamonis, the former Louisville assistant coach, is picking up where he left off.
Tristan Pompey looking for his first base hit. Has drawn a couple of walks. Scored the first run of the game. It was interesting that one of the graduate assistants at Indiana was Matt Rada, the former Kentucky infielder, who's now an assistant on staff at Xavier. It's just odd to see Matt Rada wearing an Indiana uniform.
Yeah, it is. Looks funny.
Pompey coming into the weekend, number 25 on the UK career hit list.
Yeah, Dick, Pompey's one of those guys. Every time he comes to play, you just expecting a rocket hit somewhere. He's got a good stroke.
Leftwich thought he had that one.
Good bat speed.
Yep.
All around excellent athletic ability.
Sometimes a little too picky at the plate. 44 career multi-hit games for Pompey. Coming into this weekend, he's up to 45.
He just missed that one.
He did. This should end the inning. The Wildcats lead one. Will go to the ninth. It's Kentucky 3, Florida 1 on the SEC Network. the day is done for Justin Lewis, but he won't forget this game, Keith. When the Wildcats needed a big effort, he came through.
You got that right. He made big pitches when he had to. Then he got in that really good rhythm, and he just kept throwing strikes.